Subscribe and hit that notification bell right now, because what just happened in Indianapolis is about to change everything for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. This is breaking news that nobody saw coming, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail about this shocking emergency signing. The Indiana Fever just made a move that has the entire WNBA talking, and it all started with a series of devastating injuries that left them with literally 0 healthy point guards. 0. Think about that for a second. A playoff contender with championship aspirations suddenly found themselves without anyone to run the offense. But what they did next, it's either genius or completely insane, and the woman they brought in has a past that's raising serious questions nobody wants to answer. Here's what makes this absolutely wild. Odyssey Sims, the 11-year veteran they just signed on an emergency hardship contract, was mysteriously cut by the LA Sparks just 5 weeks ago after disappearing for 5 games for, quote, personal reasons, unquote. She came back for 1 game, played 23 minutes, and boom, she was gone. The Sparks chose Julie Vanloo over her, a player who barely sees the court. Now suddenly, she's the Fever's savior? Something doesn't add up here. And we're about to expose exactly what's really going on. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Remember when Odyssey Sims publicly praised Caitlin Clark last year? She said, and I quote, "Everybody's been watching Caitlin. She's a great player. She's playing at a very high level, especially with her assists. There are a lot of shots she turned down because she was looking for her teammates." Those comments just resurfaced, and now these two are about to be teammates. Coincidence? Maybe. But there's way more to this story. Let's talk about the absolute disaster that led to this emergency signing. Sydney Colson tore her ACL. Season over. Aari McDonald broke her foot. Season done. Both injuries happened in the same game against Phoenix on August 7th. The Fever went from having depth at point guard to having literally nobody in the span of 48 hours. And Caitlin Clark? She's been out since July 15th with her third groin injury of the season. She's missed 14 regular season games already. 14! The former Iowa superstar who never missed a single game in college has now missed more games than she's played this season. The timing couldn't be worse. The Fever are 18-14, sitting in 5th place with just 5 weeks left in the regular season. They're fighting for their playoff lives, trying to secure their first winning season since 2015? 2015! That's a decade of mediocrity that Stephanie White is trying to end, and now she's forced to bring in a player who was literally unemployed 5 minutes ago. But here's where things get really interesting, and nobody's talking about this. Odyssey Sims wasn't just some bench player for the Sparks, she was their starting point guard. Starting! She averaged nearly 10 points and 3.5 assists per game. She dropped 32 points against Phoenix on June 1st. She was playing well. So why did they cut her? The official story is she missed 5 games for personal reasons, came back for 1 game, and then got waived. But sources around the league are whispering about something else entirely. Think about this timeline. Sims disappears for 5 games in mid-June. No explanation beyond personal reasons. She returns on June 23rd against Chicago, plays 23 minutes, and 2 days later, she's waived. The Sparks immediately signed Julie Vanloo, who averaged 4 points per game with Golden State. You don't replace your starting point guard with a 4-point-per-game backup unless something serious happened behind the scenes. Now the Fever are taking a massive gamble. They're bringing in a 32-year-old guard who hasn't played competitive basketball in over a month, throwing her directly into the fire with 0 practice time, 0 knowledge of their plays, and expecting her to save their season. Stephanie White literally said in her press conference that Sims won't know a single play call. Not one. They're just hoping her veteran experience and basketball IQ can carry them through. But here's what nobody's considering. Odyssey Sims is a scorer first, passer second. Throughout her career, she's had seasons where she averaged under 3 assists per game. 3 for a point guard. She's averaged 11 points for her career, but only 3.8 assists. Compare that to Caitlin Clark, who's averaging nearly 9 assists even while playing injured. These are 2 completely different playing styles that are about to collide. The pressure on Sims is absolutely insane right now. She's walking into a locker room that just lost 2 beloved teammates to season-ending injuries. She's joining a team with championship expectations that's barely holding on to a playoff spot. She has to learn an entirely new system on the fly while the clock is ticking on her 7-day hardship contract. Oh yeah, did I mention that? She only has 7 days to prove she deserves to stay. 7 days! And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. The Fever can only sign 2 more 7-day contracts with Sims before they have to make a decision. Either sign her for the rest of the season, which means cutting someone else, or let her go and find another solution. But here's the kicker. Hardship contracts can't extend into the playoffs, so even if she balls out and saves their regular season, they might not be able to keep her for the postseason. How's that for pressure? The backstory on Odyssey Sims makes this even more fascinating. This is a former number 2 overall draft pick. She was WNBA All-Star in 2019, all WNBA second team that same year. She won a national championship at Baylor with Brittany Griner. She's played for 8 different teams in 11 years. 8! That's not normal. Either she's incredibly adaptable, or there's something about her that makes teams move on quickly. Remember when she averaged 17 points per game for Dallas last season? 17! She came back after the Olympic break and absolutely dominated. She had 53-50 shooting splits over that stretch. Elite numbers. So where's that player been this year? Why did her numbers drop to under 10 points per game with the Sparks? Why did they give up on her so quickly? Here's my theory, and this is where it gets spicy. The Sparks are in full rebuild mode. They're developing young talent, trying to position themselves for the future. Odyssey Sims, at 32, doesn't fit that timeline. She wants to win now. She wants minutes. She wants the ball in her hands. When Julie Alamond became available, a 28-year-old pass-first guard who fits their system better, they made a business decision. Cold? Absolutely. But that's the WNBA in 2025. Now Sims gets her revenge opportunity. She's joining a team that desperately needs exactly what she provides: veteran leadership, scoring punch, and someone who isn't afraid of big moments. The Fever have been destroyed by injuries all season, but this might actually work in Sims' favor. There's no competition for minutes. She's going to play 30-plus minutes per night until Caitlin comes back. Speaking of Caitlin Clark, let's address what everyone's thinking. ESPN has her projected return date as August 12th against Dallas. That's in 2 days. 2 days! But Stephanie White has been adamant that they're taking things slow this time. Clark has suffered a left quad strain, a left groin injury, and now a right groin injury all in the same season. Her body is breaking down from the physicality of the WNBA, something White specifically mentioned in her press conference. The real question is whether Clark will even play again this regular season. Think about it. If the Fever can maintain their playoff position without her, why risk another injury? Why not let her fully heal for the postseason? The problem is, without Clark, this team struggles to score. She's averaging 16.5 points and nearly 9 assists. You can't just replace that production, even with someone as talented as Odyssey Sims. But maybe that's exactly why this signing is brilliant. Sims doesn't have to be Caitlin Clark. She just has to be good enough to keep them afloat. She needs to give them 15 points and 5 assists per night, play solid defense, and not turn the ball over. That's it. The bar isn't MVP-level performance. It's competent point guard play, something they literally don't have right now. The chemistry factor is huge here too. Kelsey Mitchell needs someone who can get her the ball in scoring position. Sophie Cunningham needs a guard who can push the pace. Aliyah Boston needs someone who can find her in the post. Sims has played with elite scorers her entire career. She knows how to be a complementary piece when needed. What really stands out is how the Fever's medical staff has handled these injuries. 3 players with season-ending injuries in the span of a week? That's not normal. That's a crisis. Either they're incredibly unlucky, or there's something wrong with their training and conditioning program. You don't lose half your backcourt to major injuries by accident. The financial implications are fascinating too. Hardship contracts don't count against the salary cap, so the Fever can essentially add talent for free right now. But if they want to keep Sims beyond 21 days, they'll have to make tough decisions. Who do you cut? Grace Berger? Katie Lou Samuelson? These are players who've been with the team all season. That's going to create locker room drama. Here's what I think happens next. Sims comes in and immediately provides a spark off the bench. She'll average 12 to 15 points in her first few games, show she can still play at this level. The Fever will extend her second 7-day contract while they wait for Clark to return. If Clark comes back healthy by late August, they'll let Sims walk. If Clark has another setback, they'll sign Sims for the rest of the season and deal with the roster implications later. The wild card in all this? Stephanie White's coaching. She's proven she can maximize veteran talent. She turned 35-year-old DeWanna Bonner into an all-star. She got career years out of role players in Connecticut. If anyone can make this Odyssey Sims experiment work, it's her. White actually coached against Sims multiple times and knows her tendencies. That familiarity could be huge. But let's be real about the challenges. Sims hasn't played in over a month. She's joining a team in crisis mode. She has no relationship with these players. She doesn't know the plays. She's on a 1-week contract with no job security. The pressure to perform immediately is overwhelming. One bad game and social media will destroy her. 2 bad games and she might be looking for another job. The subplot nobody's discussing, this could be Sims' last chance at meaningful WNBA minutes. At 32, after being cut by the Sparks, another failure could end her career. She's playing for her basketball life right now. That desperation could fuel an incredible performance or lead to forced shots and selfish play. We're about to find out which version of Odyssey Sims shows up. For Fever fans, this signing represents hope and concern in equal measure. Hope that they've found someone who can stabilize the ship until Clark returns. Concern that they're putting their playoff hopes in the hands of someone the Sparks didn't want. It's a massive gamble with their season on the line. The immediate impact will be interesting to watch. Tuesday's game against Dallas will be Sims' first test. Sabrina Ionescu and the Wings guards will attack her immediately, trying to expose any rust or conditioning issues. If Sims can hold her own defensively and contribute 10+ points, it's a successful debut. Anything less, and the panic buttons start getting pushed. What this really shows is how thin the margin for error has become in Indianapolis. They went from having too many guards to having none in the span of 3 days. They went from championship aspirations to just trying to make the playoffs. They went from building around their young core to relying on a 32-year-old journeyman to save their season. The bigger picture is even more concerning. This is supposed to be the year the Fever turn the corner. New coach, healthy Caitlin Clark, sophomore leap from Aliyah Boston. Instead, they're limping toward the playoffs with a patchwork roster held together by hardship contracts and prayer. This isn't how championship teams are built, but maybe, just maybe, this adversity creates something special. Maybe Odyssey Sims finds the fountain of youth and plays like it's 2019 again. Maybe Caitlin Clark comes back completely healthy and leads them on a playoff run. Maybe this roster, battle-tested and resilient, shocks everyone in September. The next 7 days will tell us everything. If Sims struggles, the Fever season might be over before Clark even returns. If she thrives, she might have played herself into a permanent role. Either way, this is must-watch basketball for anyone who cares about the WNBA's most compelling storyline. The Fever just rolled the dice on their entire season. Odyssey Sims is their emergency parachute, deployed at the last possible second. Will she save them, or will they crash and burn? We're about to find out, and trust me, you don't want to miss a second of this drama. Before we wrap up, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button because we'll be covering every single game of this Odyssey Sims experiment. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our exclusive analysis of what happens next. This story is far from over, and the next chapter might be the craziest yet. Comment below with your predictions. Can Odyssey Sims save the Fever's season? We'll see you in the next one.